And contemporary dancers from Mzansi Ballet and Carstens Island Ballet Studio and a formidable sextet of amazing jazz musicians. That's a new groundbreaking artistic collaboration titled When Ballet Meets Jazz, which kicks off at the Pieter Toerien Theatre at Montecasino from the 24th to the 28th of October. The production sees a collaboration between CEO of the Mzansi Ballet Dirk Badenhorst, jazz executive producer Aymeric Péguillan, and renowned pianist, academic and musical leader director Andre Petersen. Well, Petersen joins us now in studio to tell us more about When Ballet Meets Jazz. Andre, it's so great to have you in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. It's good to be here.
Talk to us about the inspiration behind this, When Ballet Meets Jazz.
Very interesting concept. About a year ago, Aymeric and Dirk approached me and said they have an idea to combine ballet and jazz, and they were interested to see how that would work. And I was brought in on to be musical director for the show, and we had our first production last year, and it was a very good success, and hence we're at the Pieter Toerien this year.
Tell us about just the talent that's involved in this production. I mean, how do you guys go about the selecting of the dancers and the musicians that are going to be a part of this?
Well, the dancers are all from Dirk Badenhorst and Island Studios. And it's exciting to see some young dancers who are professional, and some of them are semi-professional. And then, of course, we have the band, which are all professional musicians. Some of them are very well known in jazz circles. So we have Sia Makuzeni, former Standard Bank artist, young artist. She's one of the musicians, and just some of the finest South African post-apartheid jazz musicians you can find.
Let's talk about the brief to the musicians in terms of this production. What did that look like?
Well, it's interesting bringing these two art forms together because you rarely see that. So I think it's a treat for both the musicians as well as the audiences. And the musicians, I think we had to be sensitive around what it takes to be a ballet dancer and how they think. I think the thought process was the most interesting for both parties. For ballet dancers, they're not used to working with a live band, let alone improvisation, which is such an important part of jazz. So for them, they work with steps, and they remember. So the music had to be, and it had to be exact. Where for jazz musicians, we take a lot of liberties with no song being played the same way twice. And so we had to find the artistic balance between recreating something that the ballet dancers were comfortable with, and they also had to compromise in some ways by allowing improvisation to be part of the process. And I think that's the meeting of ballet and jazz at its finest, I think.
It definitely makes it very, very interesting. You spoke about the previous edition having been so successful that you guys absolutely had to bring the production back. Tell us, what are some of the elements that are new this time around, or has anything changed? Have there any additions? What makes this edition special?
Well, in addition to some new dancers, we also changed the repertoire a little bit. So we have a tribute to Brayu. Of course, with his passing, we couldn't let that opportunity just pass itself. So we have one of his compositions, and then we've kept basically the same structure of the last time. So it's going to be exciting.
All right. For someone who hasn't seen it, what can they expect?
They can expect a meeting of a reinterpretation and reimagination of some classic ballet pieces from Tchaikovsky, Dying Swan, Nutcracker Suite, but arranged for a jazz ensemble with ballet dancers, as well as I think seeing classic South African jazz compositions with ballet dancers. So we do some Abdullah Ibrahim compositions, Bekium Seleku. So it's an eclectic mix, and I think it's exciting for someone who hasn't seen the show to see these two worlds meeting.
And for you, just as a musician, I mean, how was it working with the other guys that are on board this project? I mean, Aymeric and Dirk as well.
Well, it helps that we get along very well, and we actually have a production company together, When Ballet Meets Jazz Productions, which is producing this show. And it's very interesting because our roles are very different but complementary, and I think it works very well. Ballet, the ballet side is handled by Dirk, and I deal with the creative musical direction, and Aymeric is the overall production manager. And I think we have a good synergy and good relationship, so it makes for a good production.
And so we are going to see many more productions in the future, I presume, with the three of you collaborating?
I hope so. If it can be well supported, I think we can do more. But definitely, we have many ideas that I think you'll see happening in the future.
Indeed. And just for you, what does the future hold for you? What are some of the things that you still want to achieve? You've already done so much. You've set the bar so high. What more is there for Andre Petersen?
There's never a never-ending process. I had someone say, what is success? And he said, whatever God has placed inside of you, that you have to bring out. And so there's so many more things I want to do. I'm involved in different productions. I have a production company with my wife, who's also a musician. So there are many other productions that I'm sure you'll see in the future, in addition to my work as an academic at WITS.
All right. Awesome stuff. So the production is taking place at the Pieter Toerien Theatre, that's out at Montecasino, starting on the 24th. Where can people get tickets?
CompuTicket. You can book at CompuTicket. And please book early. Hopefully it will be sold out soon. So.
I have no doubt that it will. Andre, thank you so much for your time this morning. And
thank you very much for having me.
Great.
Thank you.
That was Andre Petersen, who is the musical director of a groundbreaking artistic collaboration titled When Ballet Meets Jazz, which takes place at the Pieter Toerien Theatre at Montecasino, and that's from the 24th to the 28th of October. Do stay with us here on Morning Live.
Last week, residents from these areas embarked on a shutdown which turned into violent clashes with police in some areas. Protests were expected to resume today, but the Gauteng Shutdown Coordinating Committee says there's been a change of plans. What are those changes?
So what has been going wrong is we've had all of these shutdowns in our communities. So that means that these communities are disabled. There's no activity happening there, and then we are breaking down our own communities. What we must do is we must take the fight to the powers that be.
We're coming to the powerhouse.